Arguably the most sought after game mode is finally coming to Siege, and it's live on the test server right now. A permanent TDM mode, or as Siege calls it, Warmup, is in the works. It's playable right now if you're on PC on the test server, and I'll just say right now, it's amazing. But let's go over the mode first, and then I'll give my own first impressions on it. But I will say ahead of time that this mode and this addition to the game is one of the best things that Ubisoft has done in the past 3 years. Let's start off with the mode itself. It's a TDM mode, currently set on 3 maps: Favela, Theme Park, and Villa. Anyone can pick any operator and any weapon they like, but primary gadgets are disabled. Instead, you can choose between impacts, flashes, and frags. You get 1 nade per life, so if you want to use it, you have to make it count. Rounds begin with an operator selection phase and then go to a single 5-minute respawn-enabled round where 2 teams of 5 try to score as many kills as possible. The mode itself is very straightforward, and a TDM mode is something that every other major first-person shooter game has, so there shouldn't be any surprises. On top of this, the maps are already maps that are being used in the current matchmaking rotation, so there's nothing new to learn, and honestly, it is a great way to learn new angles and nooks and crannies of maps that you might not have otherwise explored. Once you die, you're prompted to either respawn or change operator. Selection respawn throws you somewhere else on the map without any sort of spawn protection, and selecting change operator allows you to mess with attachments and loadouts. This mode is really simple. You can hot join an ongoing game just like with casual or other special event modes, and honestly for a TDM, it works really well to keep the pace of the match going. This is really the mode where it makes the most sense to have people joining in mid-game because it really keeps up the flow of the game if someone does leave. Now, on the test server, this mode does not give any XP or renown or battle pass points. I would predict that in the future it will give at least some amount of XP or renown, but as I've noticed on the test server, it does not give any of that after the game ends. With that being said, it's still going to be an invaluable resource because as good as Training Grounds is, it doesn't replicate movement, and being able to get 30 to 40 to even like 50 gunfights in just 5 minutes is a great way to warm up and really practice against other players. Now, I will preface this by saying that I love this game mode and I think it is an amazing start, but there were a few glaring issues that I noticed. First, let's start off with bugs. Now, I don't want to be too critical because I know that bugs happen and they'll get worked out eventually. Ubisoft is pretty notorious for having some buggy features, but some of the big ones I noticed were actually related to the HUD. So right off the bat, when you spawn in, it takes a little bit for the HUD to sort of catch up, so it does feel a little bit weird. It's not really a big thing, that's more cosmetic. Other than that, once you respawn a few times, if you have a crosshair enabled, it will actually remain on your screen while you scope in. It'll be like this tiny little plus crosshair like you'd see in CS on top of your scope, which is really frustrating, so I had to turn that off in the HUD options entirely. I also noticed that if you join mid-game, you don't actually get any points, and that would, I guess, impact if there were XP or renown gain after the mode is over, but I played a game and I got something like 18 kills and was on the bottom leaderboard with 0 points, so that was a little bit odd, but I'm sure that'll be worked out. This is nothing major. Moving away from the bugs, let's just talk about the design of the mode in general. So, personally, I feel that the maps are a little bit congested. Spawns are limited to only inside the building, and if you run outside of the building, you get the "you will die in 10 seconds" warning that is common with Protect Hostage on Training Grounds. So because of this, you have 10 people spawning pretty much evenly spaced out around a map that's supposed to be sieged, and where getting into the building is sort of half the struggle. Especially on maps like Villa, it doesn't really work too well, especially when we come to the biggest issue, and that issue is impacts. So impacts are the default gadget, and honestly, it's not too bad right in the beginning of the round, but once you get about halfway through the round, you have every wall opened and people are just spamming impacts, and you walk into a room and you see 4 people staring at you from 4 different angles. It creates some really unfun gunfights, and I've had situations where I was just dying right off spawn 45 seconds in a row. Personally, I think that they should remove impacts from the selection. It just really disrupts the flow of the game and makes it not super valuable as a warm-up tool. You're sort of just playing whack-a-mole, hoping you peek every single angle. On top of this congestion issue and the impacts open up too much of the map issue, spawns don't go off any audio, meaning that there's a good chance that someone spawns right behind you or right next to you without you ever hearing them. In a game like Valorant, I think one of the best things about Deathmatch is that there is a small sound cue when someone spawns in, letting you know their general direction but not their exact position. I think at a game like Siege this makes a lot of sense too, since it is really sound-based. And having 0 audio when someone spawns in right behind you is a little bit frustrating. especially when these people can shoot immediately off spawn with no spawn protection. And that brings me to spawning. So respawning feels a little bit clunky. There isn't a super clear intuitive indicator when you're going to respawn. I'd like some sort of count or some sort of audio or visual cues that you're spawning in. Right now it does feel a little bit clunky and half-baked, so it would just be nice to have a little bit more quality of life, sort of more polished features like audio cues when you're spawning in. The spawning system is actually really good, and I didn't spawn right inside of an enemy like I do in CSGO Deathmatch a lot. However, I don't think their system accounts for line of sight, so again, once you get to that impact problem, people open up the entire map, there are times where you will spawn in front of a soft wall that's been blown open, and there's this 50-meter long angle that someone's just holding like a psychopath, and you will just get shot off spawn a few times. But again, this isn't really a complaint that I have with the respawning system. I think this is actually one of the best respawn systems in terms of calculating a safe spawn that I've seen in any team deathmatch, and I'm really happy about it. It's just more of an issue with impact. But honestly, despite some issues that need to be worked out, this mode is really refreshing. It's really fun. It's fast-paced. It gives you a lot of gunfights, and honestly, it feels super balanced. There are a couple guns that might be a little bit unfair, like Ella Shotgun, which a lot of people have been complaining about. But personally, I love this game mode. I think it is a great way to practice recoil, movement, gunfights, anything you could imagine. I mean, you're playing as real people with real guns with customizable loadouts on maps that you're actually going to be playing in casual, unranked, or ranked. Like, it is really an excellent concept, and I'm super glad it's being put into the game. I will definitely be grinding out this mode, and hopefully if XP and Renown are a part of it, it will become a great way to improve at the game, warm up, have fun, and even get Renown that you can then blow on alpha packs and get nothing but common duplicates. So that's a brief summary of what this new game mode is and my own first impressions. We don't have any official word of when this mode is coming to the main build, but once it does, I'll be grinding it out. It is a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.